right, y'all, we're back, and in today's lesson for beginner series, I'm gonna take you through foundation and concealer. Now that I think about it, this probably should have been the first video, but you know, we here now. There are several different types of foundation you can use. There are a lot out there, so I see why people could get confused. Look at me rhyming, Mrs. Dr. Seuss. Okay, so we're gonna start off with like the different types of foundations you could use, and then I'll tell you what my favorite is and my favorite formula. So you have a liquid formula of foundation. This is a NARS Natural Radiant Foundation. This is like a cult favorite. So when you hear people say cult favorite, it means like a lot of beauty enthusiasts like really love this foundation. I wear shade New Caledonia and I love her down. I personally prefer a liquid foundation. Then you have, this is still liquid form, but this is a tinted moisturizer. So I'm throwing this in the mix because this is for someone who doesn't like a full coverage look. Don't get me wrong, there are foundations out there that are like medium to light coverage, but a tinted moisturizer is really just like a no makeup type of look. This is the Lip Bar 3-in-1 tinted moisturizer in chocolate chip. I also have a discount code for the Lip Bar. If you want to try this or other Lip Bar products, you can use my code to get money off. The next we have is a cream. Let's start that over. This is a cream foundation. This is the Milani Cream to Powder Foundation, and I wear the shade Chestnut. But since it is getting cooler out and my complexion is getting a little bit lighter, I could probably go for like one shade lighter. Also, please ignore my nails. I was stressed, and when I'm stressed, I pick at something, and it was my nails this time. Last but not least, we have a powder foundation, which I'm gonna just tell y'all off top, I don't see it for them. I have never liked powder foundations. They never look natural on the skin to me. I don't care how many people claim like my powder foundation. Is it? It's a Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation, and I wear the shade 420 in their liquid foundation, and also this. Today I'm going to use the NARS because if I have a preference or if I can choose which one I'm using, I'm always going to go for the NARS. Like, this is just the one I reach for hands down. We have different ways that you can apply your foundation. So you can use either a brush or a sponge. So I already have my primer on. I just put 2 little dots on all the areas. And like, as you can see, coverage is already, boom, there. And you want to just make sure you are, you know, applying this everywhere, really just like covering all of the spots. The only spot I would say that you don't really have to worry about with foundation, like getting like the same amount of coverage, is under your eyes, because you're gonna go in with concealer. And this is just one layer, so this is what I would call a medium to full coverage foundation, because with one layer you can still see some of my imperfections on my skin. With a full coverage, like a true full coverage, which I feel like you get that with like more of a matte finish or a cream foundation, you don't have to apply multiple layers to get a full coverage. But if you ever see something where it says like medium to full, that means that you can build it up, so you could apply a little bit more product to get the full coverage look that you want. Let's get into concealer. So I have 2 options here, and there are 2 different types of concealers. You can have a liquid concealer or a cream concealer. There's no such thing as a powder concealer. I've never heard anyone do that. My first option for liquid here is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. Look, let me just say, I've talked about this concealer before. I hate her. No, I don't hate her. What am I saying? I hate the packaging. The packaging is real nasty, Maybelline. Like, I wish this had a wand. If this came with a wand, like, whoo. But I also, again, I've said before, I don't know if the magic is in this little nasty puff up here. Other type of formula you can have is a cream. So this is the NARS. This is actually the only cream concealer I have because I prefer liquid. This is the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. So they'll usually come in like a little pot like this. And to use them, I will just like dip a brush in them. And I wear the shade Amandi in this. which is a pretty good match for me any time of year. And then in the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, I use 2 shades. I use the shade Hazelnut and Tan, and I'm gonna tell you why right now I use 2 shades. There are multiple ways that you can apply concealer, same way as foundation. You can use either a brush or a sponge. I would say if you're using a brush, you have some options. So you could either, and I have a brush that I really like. Right now I prefer to use a brush. So you can have like a flat brush like this. It's tapered off, and you can just like pat your foundation in or your concealer in under your eyes and blend it out that way. I personally don't like to use a flat brush because I feel like it's kind of hard for me to blend it in and it takes a while. So I have been using this Makeup by Mario EF1 brush. It has a flat end, but it also has like a fluffier end. And I like to use this fluffier side to blend in my concealer. You can also use a sponge, which I did use for like the longest time. I was only a sponge. It wasn't until like maybe a couple of weeks ago that I really started using a brush. You do just want to make sure your sponge is damp. Similar to like your foundation, it's gonna like take away any of the cakiness. 2 shades. The first shade I'm going in with is Hazelnut, which is a darker shade, and I've heard that like makeup artists, like when they're doing like celebrity makeup and stuff, or like professional makeup, that they use 2 concealer shades, so I'm on this one. My darker shade, I start out here. I go under my nose, kind of like making a perimeter, make a little half moon on my forehead and a little bit on my chin. Now with this darker shade, this is meant to be like your transition shade, or that's how I think of it. You want it to be like a gradient effect or an ombre effect. You don't want it to be concealer foundation. It needs to be a happy marriage, okay? Not a turbulent one. So I use this darker shade because it will easily blend into my foundation. And then I use a lighter shade here in the middle. So now we have our lighter shade. I hate this packaging so much. The lighter shade I use is Tan. So Hazelnut was the first shade, the shade is Tan. And I'm gonna put this on all the places where I did not put this darker shade. So right here, I'm gonna put it right here. I am gonna drag it down my nose, but that comes later when I am contouring my nose, and I'll talk you through that. And a little bit in the middle. Letting your concealer sit for a little while will actually like have the product like adhere more, and it will last longer. You'll get better coverage out of it. I really want under my eyes to like adhere how I can. So just using the brush, I am going to blend it out. And when it comes to like larger areas, so for my chin, like it was a pretty small area, but when it comes to larger areas, I like to blend from the outside in so that I'm not dragging the product out further than I want to go. There's a line right there, that is fine. Once you apply your bronzer and like contour and everything, that's gonna like blend together. I'm just using like tapping motions here to blend this in. Whatever product that you have on your brush, I like to bring it onto my eyelid. I try not to move this product much, if at all. I want it to stay exactly where it is, give or take. There might be some like areas that I need to move it to cover it, but for the most part, I'm just like gonna tap this product in to just blend it in and to like get the coverage and spread it to where it needs to be. And I'm gonna take my lighter shade again. So this is a shade Tan. So you remember when we put it up on our forehead, we kind of stopped it right here. This is when I go back and add this shade to put it down the center of my nose to highlight that part. Done. That's our final look. That's the ins and outs of foundation and concealer. I feel like as much as like a beginner needs to know, your number one thing though, my number one tip for beginners though is if you're unsure of how to shape match yourself, go get shape matched. Go to a store, find somewhere that can shape match you, because it doesn't matter. You can have the best where's my comb? You can have like the best formula in the world, but if your foundation does not match, it ain't it. Also, another tip for my beginners, little last minute tips, is you guys, please be aware that your shade is going to change from summer to winter. You're gonna be much lighter, or not much lighter, but your skin tone is gonna be lighter in the winter. The sun's not out as often, you're not getting as much of a tan, all that jazz, in the winter time as you are in the summer. So just keep that in mind. That is it for my makeup today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. All the products I use will be linked below, along with the shades. So if you didn't catch a shade, click the bottom bar, they will be below.